I'm News4 Jax's Chief Meteorologist David Eckert. Well, here we are now into the month of March. We have closed out meteorological winter and heading in now into meteorological spring. And boy, February, no doubt about it, was a warm one. We had 5 record highs, either tied or broken, out of the Jacksonville International Airport and St. Simon's Island. Not only did you break your new February all-time record, 7 of the last 9 days to close out February featured temperatures at or above your record high. So what to expect into March? Well, I think the headline here is going to be some changes as the month progresses. Let's first off talk about what to expect for the early part of the month. This will be the next 6 to 10 days. It's kind of a status quo here. We're going to be talking about a lot of warmth across the southeast, including Florida. I don't see a significant change. It's going to get a little bit cooler for the upcoming weekend, and we may not be getting close to record highs anymore, but still well above the average high in the Jacksonville area, it looks like, which is only around the low 70s. So we're probably going to be talking about temperatures upper 70s, low to mid 80s here as we head into the early part of March. One thing that does get a little bit more interesting is you probably noticed it's gotten quite dry, especially for the back end of February. We're actually going with average precipitation across our region. It does look like a little bit more of a storm track that kind of impacts this area over the next couple of weeks. We may actually see some beneficial rainfall here heading into the early part of March. Let me show you what to expect as we get into the middle part of the month. So this is the next 8 to 14 days. That takes us through mid-March. Notice this blue almost encompassing a good deal of the area of really the United States. We've had a lot of cold air bottled up here in the parts of Canada. It has not really been able to push southward. A lot of trends, it looks like, that the entire pattern is going to shift. We may have a big trough that develops something like this over the area, over the country during the middle part of the month, and that's going to open the door for a lot of this cool air to rush in. So with the middle part of January, we're probably going to be talking about below average conditions across much of the country. So you got spring break plans in cities like New York, Chicago, Washington, even the Carolinas could be quite cool. For Florida and southeast Georgia, it's kind of a transition time period, it looks like. So you can see there could be a big difference just depending on where you live exactly in the region. Cooler than average conditions possible into sections of southeast Georgia, but you get down towards Flagler Beach, Palm Coast, in the parts of Putnam County, you may actually end up being warmer than average for the middle part of the month. Now, the back end looks a little bit hazier. In fact, you can see here, it looks like because of this big pattern shift, the storm tracks may begin to push their way more through Florida. So we're anticipating wetter than average conditions for the middle part of the month. Now let's talk about the back end of the month. This is between March the 11th and March the 24th. Here's where the forecast gets a little fuzzy. We know there's going to be a lot of cool air in the parts of the southeast by then. How far south does that cool air get into Florida? Right now, it looks like Jacksonville proper would probably be right at average high temperatures, but I would not be surprised if we end up having a cooler end of the month with the warmer than average conditions kind of shoved here into cities like Orlando, Tampa, and the Miami region. And no doubt about it, much of the country is going to be very chilly for March. In fact, you can see everyone with the exception of Florida really anticipating below average conditions for the back end of March. In fact, it is very possible that we may actually see a cooler March than we did in February. Don't be surprised the average temperature is actually cooler on the 3rd month of the year compared to that 2nd month of the year just because it was so warm in February. So bottom line, I think March starts out warm, but we could have cooler and wetter conditions for the back end of the month. This is Chief Meteorologist David Eckert for Channel 4, the local station.